Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has announced that he possesses information indicating Russia is planning a major attack. He further accused the Kremlin of prioritizing missile strikes over diplomatic solutions. According to NHK reporting, Moscow had previously issued a warning regarding systemic strikes on Kyiv and had urged foreign diplomats to evacuate the city promptly. Zelenskyy made these statements via social media, urging international pressure on Moscow. He also recently alleged that Russia attacked Kyiv with a new, powerful intermediate-range ballistic missile, identified as a Oreshnik. An advisor to the Ukrainian leader informed NHK that electronic components from this missile were manufactured solely in Russia and its ally, Belarus, suggesting Moscow's desire for self-sufficiency in its strategic missile program. The head of the U.S. military Southern Command, General Francis Donovan, held a rare meeting with top Cuban military officials, including General Roberto Legras Sotolongo, near Guantanamo Bay on Friday, CBS News reports. This high-level contact occurred amid escalating tensions as President Trump has intensified pressure on Cuba, even refusing to rule out military action against the island nation. In recent months, the Trump administration has imposed tariffs on oil exports to Cuba, tightened sanctions, and criminally charged former Cuban leader Raul Castro. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has demanded sweeping economic and political reforms, with CIA Director John Ratcliffe also visiting Havana to convey a message of potential cooperation if Cuba makes fundamental changes. Meanwhile, President Diaz-Canel has warned of a bloodbath if the U.S. assaults Cuba. Concerns also include Cuba's acquisition of attack drones and its alleged hosting of Chinese and Russian spy facilities. A notable detail from Ratcliffe's Havana meeting was his introduction of a paramilitary operator involved in a mission that killed dozens of Cubans in Venezuela. Al Jazeera reports that United Nations spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric affirmed that 100% of Gaza should rightfully belong to Palestinians. This statement comes in response to recent remarks by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who announced plans to expand Israel's control over the Gaza Strip to 70% and hinted at the possibility of a complete takeover of the territory. Dujarric's comments underscore the UN's long-standing position regarding the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Palestinian lands. The situation highlights ongoing tensions and differing visions for the future of Gaza. NHK reports that Vietnam's top leader, To Lam, who serves as president and general secretary of the Communist Party, delivered a keynote speech at the Shangri-La Dialogue, a global security conference held in Singapore. Lam stressed that the international order must be forged through rules, dialogue, mutual accommodation, and self-restraint, explicitly rejecting coercion, unilateral imposition, threats of force, or the creation of fate's accomplice. Regarding peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific, he stated that the region seeks responsible commitment from major powers rather than their mere presence or absence. The report also notes Vietnam's balanced approach, strengthening economic ties with China while fostering diplomatic relations with the United States. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is scheduled to speak on Saturday, with observers anticipating his remarks on Taiwan issues. Al Jazeera reports that Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has strongly condemned the United States' decision to label two major Brazilian criminal groups, the Primeiro Comando da Capital, PCC, and the Comando Vermelho, CV, as terrorists. Lula argued that these networks, while violent and profiting from drug and arms trafficking, do not fit the ideological, political, or religious motivations typically associated with international terrorism. He warned that this arbitrary measure could hinder local law enforcement efforts, potentially freeze assets and even penalize victims forced into extortion. Furthermore, Lula expressed concern that the designation could be a pretext for U.S. military intervention and undermine Brazil's sovereignty and economy. The announcement by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio under the Trump administration came amidst Brazil's heated election, where Lula is competing against Senator Flavio Bolsonaro, son of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Lula accused Senator Bolsonaro of leveraging family ties to seek foreign intervention, reminiscent of past instances where Trump intervened in Brazilian affairs, citing the Bolsonaro trial as a reason for sanctions. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.